Welcome, everyone, to District 44's training on Contest Master Mastery. All of you came here to learn how to run contests better at one level or another, and I applaud you. Contests and Toastmasters celebrate and elevate speaking excellence, which is precisely what Toastmasters is known for. Would you like to know how to run an excellent contest? Do you want to know the secrets? Of course you do. There are so many secrets. So let's begin. We are going to take a look at the big picture. Beyond encouraging speaking excellence, why even run contests? When people think of Toastmasters, they think of public speaking. Contests are the highest marquee expression, the highest visibility event, the greatest example of public speaking that Toastmasters can offer. They get a huge amount of attention, and they really should, because they help keep people interested in Toastmasters. They help keep the game going. And make no mistake, Toastmasters is an infinite game. You want it to go on, generation after generation of new Toastmasters coming into the organization. When you run a contest as the contest master, you helm the highest visibility event that holds the greatest chance to keep the game going. This kind of event attracts both members and guests because it offers the best speaking example that a Toastmaster district has to offer in that particular year. If the event goes well, more people are going to come back, both members and guests. If the event goes badly, few people will return. You don't want that. So why should we run the contest and run them well? Because of their high marquee nature. They are high investment, high emotion, high visibility events, and they are run for the benefit of everybody. In 2017, I entered my first international speech competition. I'd only been in Toastmasters a short time, about 5 months, and by luck, more than anything else, I won the club contest, I won the area contest, and now I was at division. Oh my God, I felt like I won the lottery. But when that division contest happened, I was a bundle of nerves. I had tunnel vision. My heart was racing. I had sweaty pits. My hands were ice cold. Oh my God, I think I peed 5 times before I got up to speak. My body was trying to make me lighter so I could run away faster. When I got to that contest, every little detail mattered. The timers, the lights, the location, the temperature of the room, how the room sounded. It was this big, giant atrium that you had to fill with your voice. I was so nervous. Anxiety focused me on every little tiny detail because any small component could just kick me right out of the competition. The emotions were higher. The scrutiny was higher. And I did my very best. Now, despite the outcome, which wasn't so good for me, things ran smooth. The contest, there were no hiccups, no bumps. I was amazed. And why was this so? Because of the contest master. The contest master there was extremely experienced. He had been a former district governor. He had been a region advisor. He had seen it all from top to bottom. That contest master was cool as November, smooth as China silk. And he was there to serve us. He had the real heart of a contest master. He wasn't there for himself. His priorities were, number 1, the contestants, to make sure that things went well for them. Number 2, the audience, to make sure that the entire event was entertaining for them. And number 3, everybody else. For 90 minutes, he was the guardian of our dreams and the steward of our hope. He smoothed things out, so the only challenge the contestants had to face was handling themselves. He protected the event and he served the contestants so that we could shine our brightest. So, how do you run a contest like Mr. November? Well, it's the same way that you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice, practice. There are 3 major categories that you want to work on when it comes to preparing yourself to be a contest master for a contest. Number 1, you're going to prepare yourself. Number 2, you're going to prepare your contestants. And then number 3, you're going to actually execute the contest. So let's talk about the very first piece preparing yourself. Number one, read the rule book. Read the rule book. The rule book is the Bible for contests. It changes a little bit every single year. So even if you've run a contest last year, you want to familiarize yourself with the rule book now so you can run a contest according to the rules as they stand today. Pretty much everything you need to execute the contest and prepare for it is in the rule book. They have rules for every kind of contest, even older ones that you may have not heard of, like tall tales. If you want to run an awesome contest, if you want to serve your fellow contestants, you have to prepare. Reading the rule book is step number one. I know, it's boring, it's tedious, it reads like a contract, but you simply need to hold yourself to a higher standard if you want to execute with excellence. Read the rule book. When it comes to that, that's the first and last rule. But there's more that you need to do to prepare yourself. The rule book is where it begins. Let's move on to the next step. Preparing yourself with the contest flow. Every contest follows a very predictable and formalized flow of events. The first thing that happens is the introductions. This is going to be real boilerplate stuff. You're going to see the contest chair announce some of the rules. You, as the contest master, will announce the speaking order. You're going to tell the audience what to expect, what they can and can't do, when they should and should not clap. This just establishes the house rules for everybody, very formalized, and you can follow it point by point by point. The second major section are the speeches themselves. And this also is going to follow a very formalized order of events. You're going to call up the first speaker. You will announce them in the contest manner, the very specific manner of name, speech title a second time, their name one more time, and then it's their turn to speak. Once you've introduced them and it's their turn, they give their speech. When they're all done, you call for a minute of silence. And this is so that the judges can finalize all their notes on that particular speaker and have a nice, fresh, clean slate, fresh, clean mind when it comes to the second speaker. Then you're going to repeat the whole thing again. Introduce the speaker, they speak, minute of silence, and so on until all speakers are finished. At that point, you're going to call for silence until the chief judge leaves the room. Once all the judges' ballots have been passed to the chief judge, they leave the room. Now you go on to the interview section. The interview section is really the free-form part of the contest. It's supposed to be entertaining. You're passing the time for the audience while the chief judge and the ballot counter and so on are out finalizing the list of winners. This is going to go on for as long as needed. Sometimes it goes very quickly. Chief judges can come back in some contests and have a very quick decision. And other times there may be other things going on and it may take a lot longer. So you want to prepare to flex between just a little bit of time and a whole bunch of time. However much time is required before the chief judge comes back, that's what you need to cover. So this contest flow will be the same, whether it's evaluation, table topics, humorous, international speech, and so on. You definitely want to familiarize yourself with this. And speaking of interviews, that long section, let's talk about that next. There are two forms that you're going to need before the contest even begins. And these forms are the speaker's certification of eligibility and originality and the speaker's contestant profile. Both of these are required. The certification of eligibility is very important. You need to have that signed and on file to identify what contest the speaker is speaking in, whether or not their speech is original. In the rule book, you're going to find some rules connected to originality. And this particular certificate tells you that the contestants understand those rules and will abide by them. The second one, the speaker's contestant profile, that is more important in terms of the interviews. And we're going to go to that next. What you see on screen now is an actual speech contestant profile form. What you're looking for interview materials is going to be in the bottom half of the form. There's a few questions down there that are really going to get your attention here. Notable accomplishments and awards, interests and hobbies, things that inspire you the most, and your favorite quote. You are going to use this material to create questions that you're going to use in the interview. What is the cardinal rule about these questions? Interestingness. Interestingness wins. If something unusual stands out, you want to ask about that, create a question there. Another excellent way to come up with interesting questions is to contrast and compare. You can take a look at different categories. For example, come look at how their quote maybe lines up with their hobbies, or look at how what inspires them lines up with their accomplishments. In one contest that I ran, there was a guy, he was absolutely rail thin, but in his interest in hobbies, what did he put down? Krispy Kreme. Wait a minute, full stop. How can you be rail thin and love Krispy Kreme? Great interview question that had the audience laughing with his answer. You can also pull interesting things from their speech. Now, this takes a little bit of awareness in the moment, depending on your own nervousness level or comfort with being a contest master. You can make notes of their speech and see if they said anything interesting there and ask them questions about that as well. So, how many questions should you develop? My recommendation, 4 questions. Your first 2 questions are going to be boilerplate, meaning you're going to ask the same question to every contestant every time. Generally speaking, these questions are, what club, area, or division are you from? This helps to connect the audience to the actual speaker. And secondly, how long have you been in Toastmasters? This gives the audience a general feel for how good they are compared to how much practice that they've had. After that, you want 4 interesting questions. You may not use all 4 interesting questions, but you want to have them there in your back pocket just in case things go long, and they just might go long. How many of you have ever been to a contest that was a disaster? I mean, you didn't want to say anything at the time, but off camera, you're screaming at the ceiling. You're texting your best friend. I can't believe how bad this contest is. Ever been there? Oh, yeah, you've been there. I've been there too. I was a contest master. We had 3 contestants. The contestants speak. Everything is great. Off to the judges. Chief judge disappears. We go on to interviews. One contestant we did not interview because she was participating in the contest immediately following. We wanted to save her interview for then. The other contestant disappeared, and I was left with only 1. We start with this contestant. I ask him the 2 boilerplate questions, just fine. Ask him the first of 4, everything's okay. Second of 4, third of 4, 4 of 4. Judges aren't back. I'm not getting any communication at all about where they are. I have no idea. We just go on and we keep talking and talking. 35 minutes later, the judges come back and say, we're having a bit of difficulty. Please bear with us. Yeah, no kidding. 35 minutes later, you're having a bit of difficulty. Turns out one of the contestants was actually invalid. They were not eligible to participate in the contest, but that wasn't determined before the contest began. So 40 minutes of interviewing, that's how long it took judges to figure out this contestant was ineligible, and we in fact did have a disqualification. So the lesson of the story there is get yourself 4 questions for each contestant because you just might need them. Another takeaway is contest prep. You as the contest master want to get those forms from the contestants and help to vet them for eligibility before the contest begins. Poor contest prep does not serve the contestants. It doesn't protect their heart. And furthermore, it commits the cardinal sin of wasting the audience's time. Preparation is absolutely crucial for a smooth contest. So let's talk about the next major stage of preparation, and that's going to be preparing your contestants. What you see on screen is an international speech contestant briefing. It's a template. This is really just the table of contents. It's not the entire briefing, but it hits all of the high points that you want to cover in a good contestant briefing. Now, contestant briefings are absolutely essential. Depending on how important the contest is, club versus district, You may want to run it more than once just to ensure that every single contestant really truly has been briefed and they understand everything related to that contest. Another essential thing you want to do, have the chief judge there with you. At the end, you're going to have Q&A. You never know what they're going to ask. Definitely want to have the chief judge there so that all questions can be addressed immediately. There are some pieces of the contestant briefing that apply to all contests, and there are some that are specific to individual contests. We'll take a look at the table of contents. First of all, contest date and times. You want to make absolutely certain everybody knows when the thing is going to happen and where or how it's going to happen. If it's in person, people need to know that it's in person. If it's hybrid, you need to figure out who's going to be on Zoom, who's going to be in person. If it's Zoom only, they need to know that as well. The second thing you want to figure out is the pronunciation of names. You're going to be pronouncing the contestants' names twice at least during the actual contest itself, and probably more times during the interview and so on. This is your opportunity to really nail their pronunciation. So what I recommend is you have the name of the contestants, you pronounce their name to the contestants, let them hear you do it. Let them give you feedback, and you can make notes as to whether or not you did it correctly so that you can adjust. There is nothing more beautiful to a person than the proper pronunciation of their name. And when it comes to serving the contestants and protecting their emotions, you want to do that so nothing catches their attention moments before they're about to give the performance of their life. The third thing is the main body of instructions. And this is stuff that applies to everybody. What the time is, where the timer is going to be, what the speaking area is, rules for disqualification, and so on. In an international speech, you may have specific instructions. For example, the rules about originality come into play. No more than 25% of a contestant's speech can be quoted, paraphrased, or summarized from someone else, meaning 75% or more of their speech must be original to themselves. You want to go over the timing protocol, just exactly what the times are, when they can expect to see the lights. If you are doing Zoom, it's a good idea to do a Zoom walkthrough so that everybody understands how to come on camera, how to come off mute, where the timer is going to be, if the timer will be pinned, where they can find them, and so on and so forth. Just work through all those technical details here in this particular meeting. The last thing that's extremely important, speaker order. You want to figure out the speaker order right here in this meeting in front of God and everybody. So there's no questions at all about how the order was determined, and everyone can see that it is fair and treats everybody equally. Lastly, there might be some contestant action items. This is a great opportunity to get those two forms, right? The bio and the eligibility and originality form. And then you can share any pertinent information with the contestants, such as a copy of this briefing, a copy of the rule book, a copy of the judge's ballot is often very helpful so they can understand how they will be evaluated in the contest. And finally, you've got the open floor and Q&A. Preparing yourself and the contestants is crucial. When it comes to contests, you win the battle with your preparation before the battle has even begun. That way you won't make little mistakes like I did at a district international speech competition. How many of you have watched the videos of the World Championship of Public Speaking? Anybody? Yeah. When you watch those videos, this is what you're going to see between the contest master and the contestant. Contest master announces the contestant, contestant's on stage, they come shake hands, they separate, contestant speaks. Now, did I do that at our district international speech convention? Oh, no. The contestant came on stage, I shook their hand, I announced them, shook their hand a second time, and then left. Major mistake, poor preparation. Why? I could see every single contestant, after I announced them, they went into this moment of meditation in order to prepare themselves to give just the right introduction to their speech. It was just this last minute moment of preparation. And when I reached out to shake their hand for a second time, it broke that moment of preparation. I think every one of those contestants probably could have done 3 to 5% better in their speech had they not been interrupted like that. So if you have a stage, if this is an in-person kind of contest, practice stage management. That way you can protect the contestants from any hiccups and really serve them so that they can do their absolute best. So we've gone over preparation for yourself. We've gone over preparing your contestants. Let's move on to showtime, executing the actual contest. When the day of the contest comes, understand the contest master sets the tone. You've done all this preparation. You're the most visible person out there. You are going to set the tone. What should you do before the contest begins? Relax. You deserve to relax. So just take a few minutes and physically relax, physically slow down everything that's going on. Your thoughts, your heartbeat, your breathing, your eyes and how your eyes are working. Breathe deep and slow. Move your eyes gently from side to side. This will help to relax your brain. Actually sends a message of relaxation to the brain. And you'll be able to access more of the personality that you've got here. You can access more of what you prepared instead of being nervous and anxious. The second thing that you can do to run an excellent contest is to practice smooth handoffs. What are we talking about? We're talking about the speaker's baton. I have the speaker's baton. Right now, I am speaking. If it's your turn to speak, I will hand the baton off to you, and it will be your turn to speak. When you are going to hand that baton off, you want to give the other person all of the information they need in order to speak. This applies to when you're announcing the speaker before they're actually going to give their competing speech, and also when you're asking them interview questions before they're going to respond back to you. You want to give the other person clarity about what it is you're looking for from them so they can be really clear and give you excellent answers. What's really interesting is that if you do this, when it's their turn to hand the baton back to you, they will follow you. You are the leader. They will emulate your example. When you hand the baton off and it's their turn to speak, be quiet. Don't say another word. Respect their psychological space so that they can fully develop their own answers. They'll do the same to you. So things may go well. Usually something goes wrong. If you've prepared well, the things that go wrong can be very, very small, but they're typically inevitable. So let's talk about how to cover when things don't go so smoothly. Delays come in all different types of forms. Some are short, some are long. CM doesn't just stand for contest master, it also stands for circus master. If the lion tamer gets eaten backstage, you got to cover. So let's talk about how to do that. If the delay is up to 30 seconds, announcing what is going on oftentimes can work really, really well. If someone's coming up, you announce their name, they're coming up towards the stage, you can say, we have contestant X, they're walking towards the stage, we're going to have them here in just a moment. All right. That's a perfect way to cover anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds if you can announce what's happening. You can also tell a little anecdote. An anecdote is a short little tiny story that might only take 15 seconds or 20 seconds, but that can cover a lot of what's going on. If you have a short joke, you might say something like that. One of my favorite short jokes about things taking a long time is this one. My mother loved the play Waiting for Godot. So this guy waits in the park forever and ever. Godot never shows up. And the last line of the play is, I waited, and when no one showed up, I knew it must be you. Get a little joke out of the audience, introduce a little bit of humor, and break some of the tension before the next speaker comes up on stage. If the delay goes longer than 30 seconds, let's say it goes for a minute, you might tell a brief story. And here's an interesting thing about stories. So if the delay is 3 minutes, you could tell a 3-minute version of a story. You could take that same 3-minute version and condense it into 1 minute. And that way you've got one story can serve 2 different types of pauses, just depends on how long it is that you want to tell it. But a brief story is a great way to fill a minute. In a 3-minute pause, you can tell the longer story, like we mentioned. You can also talk about upcoming district events. Most districts will have all sorts of events that are coming up next, and you can start to announce them or talk about them in detail. Easy way to cover 3 minutes. You can also have announcements. Perhaps you're running this particular contest during your district's annual conference. You might talk about some announcements related to the conference there. That again can eat up 3 minutes. If things go longer, that's not a problem. Have a short conference with the chair, just a word or two with the contest chair. And then you can announce that we're going to take a break. If something really is serious and you've gone all the way through your announcements or your long story, maybe you just want to pause until things are sorted again, and then you can come back and restart the contest. That's perfectly acceptable. Now, here's the cardinal rule about covering delays. Under no circumstances should you comment about contestants. Don't do that. You want to keep the pool of opinion with the judges absolutely neutral. Do not taint the pool of opinion that the judges have the contestants, because that can introduce unfair bias to the judging, and that throws the whole result of the contest into question. Definitely want to avoid that. So, speaking of delays, let's talk about the section that is freeform and takes the longest: interviews. How to interview contestants. When you're asking the questions, interestingness wins. Interestingness for the audience is the most important consideration. Use your most interesting questions when you're going to talk to the contestants. And if something else comes up that's even better, dump those questions and go with what's better. There's been plenty of times when I've interviewed a contestant, they gave me an answer that was a little sharp or weird or strange or begged for further exploration. Right away, I asked a follow-up question about that particular thing because it seemed so interesting, and I thought the audience would really get a lot out of it. Also, when you're asking questions, you want it to be a give and take. Think about some of the best late-night TV interviews that you've ever seen. What's so interesting about late night? It's the rapport between the interviewer and the interviewee. The interviewer, the host, develops this really familiar rapport with the interviewee, and it becomes more than an interview. It's actually a really, really good exchange. If they answer your question and you don't have a follow-up question, I recommend a good technique. Comment briefly or sincerely on their answer. Don't just leave it, drop it dead, and move on to the next question. Give it a little bit of transition in there with a small comment or even encouraging noises like, These things all help to build a good exchange between you and the person you're interviewing. How many questions do you ask? Well, we touched on this a little bit more, but the answer really is, it depends on how the judging is going. If the judging is taking a long time, you're going to probably run through your entire bank of 4 interesting questions per contestant. If the judging doesn't take a long time, it could go a lot shorter. One technique that I like to use, especially if you have many contestants, is that I'll ask one contestant up, go through the boilerplate, ask them 2 questions, and then move on to the next contestant. What this allows is you can move all the way through all the contestants. So if the judging goes quite quickly, you can hit everybody, and at least you've been fair to everyone giving them a question. If the judging goes longer, no problem. Bring your contestants back, ask them the remaining 2 questions that you have. If judging goes on even longer, you can go into something like table topics, which can be a lot of fun, and you can even introduce the audience into the table topics, ask them to speak. At this point, the judging's all over, so it doesn't matter if the audience participates or not. They can have a lot of fun, and you can kill quite a bit of time with the table topics. If it goes even longer than that, simply announce a pause and wait until judging is over, and then continue. So once you have interviewed all the questions or all the contestants, you've asked all your questions, the chief judge comes back. The contest chair is ready to announce the winners. What are you going to do? You hand off to the contest chair and you're done. Congratulations, you made it. You made it all the way through. You executed all of your contest master duties and you're still alive. Hats off to you. Hats off to you. So once the contest is over, what comes next? It's a lessons learned. you want to debrief with all the staff, the contest chair, the contest master, the chief judge. These are the three important ones. If there were, individual kerfluffles with timing or ballot counting or whatever, pull that staff into the debrief session as well. Toastmasters is an organization of continuous improvement, and a debrief immediately after an event happens will help you get better faster, because more minds are better than one. In conclusion, Toastmasters is an infinite game. You want it to go on and on. Preparation when it comes to contests is absolutely key. It's your friends up there competing, and you don't want to disappoint them. Your job is to battle the forces of chaos in the name of running an excellent contest, in the name of serving the contestants, so that all they have to do is manage what's inside and give the speech of their lives. Stay flexible. Things are going to change. Things are going to break. Planning is the key. With sufficient preparation, you can win the battle before it even begins. Prepare and then relax and execute. As the quote says, as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give permission for others to do the same. The brighter that you shine your light in the service to the contestants, the greater their brilliance will radiate on stage. Thank you so much for viewing our Contest Master training. I wish you the very best in all of your contest efforts.